So I just invented an entirely new way to visualize the narratives around the Bitcoin price. It looks pretty crazy, but let me explain myself and we'll get into what's going on here. What we're looking at here is public price targets made by a bunch of high signal Bitcoiners, plotted against the Bitcoin price over time and made into a heat map. So what you'll see here as we navigate across the screen is all the different Bitcoin price over time. We're looking at the 2024 summer chop, the bull market up here after the election, and then again into all-time highs. And plotted against this is all the times different price targets were mentioned. First thing you'll obviously notice here is that the most frequent mentions are all around the current Bitcoin price. This is what you'd expect as people are talking about that being the current range of things. But the next thing that'll probably immediately pop out to you is this crazy line right across the middle. And that is at the 100K range. So you'll see it's a little bit lighter red over here. When things just ran up with the ETF news, people start talking about these higher price targets once more. This is also happening above the fold with the $1 million price target. And then you'll see after the longer duration of chop, eventually it kind of like yellows out, but then it once again becomes red here, right when we start to cross the line. It's like very talked about. It's the main thing in the narrative at the time. It becomes less frequently mentioned through here. It's about 100K all the time. It's been a target for everybody for ages. But there's some smaller things here in the lower ends of the chart that I think are really telling. And part of the reason I wanted to look back at the summer chop period is because it highlights a little bit of a mood change. So back here, you'll see that like this 50K range is what's happening down here. You see hotter density of mentions as we cross the target. And then through the entire summer chop, you see it mentioned pretty frequently. Makes sense. That was kind of the range at which people were worried it was going to train down to, and I think it did like touch that a couple times. Over here, when we get to the bull market, you see it is much more sparsely mentioned. A lot of people are convinced it's not going to go back down there anymore. But then again, we enter the same range that we saw in summer of 2024, that chop consolidation range. But what you'll note here is that the rate of mention is actually more frequent. People are talking about 50K more than they even were back when in the summer chop. So Bitcoin has had a huge amount of time here above these ranges. It's had a crazy amount of adoption. Like the entire Bitcoin treasury space has evolved here. Yet still, even though we spent so much time chopping around these ranges and we took a ton of time above them, people are referencing this 50K range even more frequently, which I think really represents where the narrative currently is right now around these price levels. I'm zoomed in a little bit here, but you'll even see stuff below that. It's crazy how bearish people are, even though we've spent so long above these prices and we've really changed the fundamental structure of the market in some ways. One other thing I wanted to draw your attention to really quickly here is the 126K target. So you'll see no mentions of this over here whatsoever. It's not really something talked about, but as soon as we top here, it becomes this target. It becomes something that people talk about because this is our new it becomes like this attraction we have to this thing. It's a narrative that goes out there. All-time highs exist at 126, and that kind of forms and snowballs into this consistent narrative. And you can actually visualize this in the data. You can watch this level go from being completely uninteresting to something that gets frequently talked about. And I would hypothesize that in the future we'll see this grow red hot as we break over 100K, and it starts to become the new target that people are thinking about.